I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. That's a quote that many of us remember that relates to Georgia. That was during a phone call that the failed, twice indicted, twice impeached former president had on the phone with Georgia officials saying, I only need 11,000 votes to defeat Joe Biden. Give me a break. Let's find those votes. Trump claims he was saying just, I think I won. Let's just find the legal votes. Every other sane person in the world who heard the audio tape says, no, Trump's trying to coerce and say, find a way for me to win, even if Joe Biden actually won. It turns out that it was not only in Georgia that Trump was doing this. And this once again fits this theme. We get one report and many of his defenders say, so out of character, he would never do this. We now have two independent, unrelated reports. Washington Post exclusive report from our friend Leanne Caldwell from the community radio days, Josh Ducey and Yvonne Wingett Sanchez. Trump pressured Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to overturn the 2020 election. It reads just like the Georgia story, but it's a different story. In a phone call in late 2020, Trump tried to pressure Republican Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to overturn the state's presidential election results, saying that if enough fraudulent votes could be found, it would overcome Trump's narrow loss in Arizona, according to three people familiar with the call. Trump also repeatedly asked Vice President Mike Pence to call Ducey and prod him to find the evidence to substantiate Trump's claims of fraud. Pence called Ducey several times to discuss the election. They said, though he did not follow Trump's directions to pressure the governor. The extent of Trump's efforts to cajole Ducey into helping him stay in power has not before been reported, even as Trump's other efforts have been made public. Ducey told reporters in December 2020 that he and Trump had spoken, but declined to disclose the contents of the call. Although he disagreed with Trump about the outcome of the election, Ducey has sought to avoid a public battle from Trump. Notably, Ducey did not record the call, according to people familiar with the matter. So we now have yet another story. We have now heard, if you look nationally, from county election officials, state election officials, state legislators. We have heard from all of these different levels about a very specific sort of plan. We know that there were elements to this attempted coup that went all the way to the White House. It included the January 6th rioters, the halls of Congress, fake electors in various states, pressure phone calls, attempts to commandeer voting machines. Remember, every one of these little details would have been a crisis if Obama had done it. That's for sure. Obama. But they are just yet another instance when it comes to Trump. There was that period right after the elections where Trump said, sequester the voting machines, get voting machines. Officials went to Trump and said, what are you talking about? We can't really do that. What do you mean? Just bring them here to the White House? It doesn't make any sense. We at this point can make a couple of conclusions. Number one, these people were not randomly acting alone. You didn't randomly have fake electors in Arizona and fake electors in Wisconsin all trying to do the same thing just by mere coincidence. It is obvious that this was a concerted and coordinated effort. Number two, some of the same tactics and techniques were attempted in multiple states. The pressure phone calls were attempted in Georgia, and the pressure phone calls were attempted in Arizona. Now, the questions that remain, and I don't pretend to have the answers at this time, we just don't know. Is Special Prosecutor Jack Smith looking into what we just learned about from Arizona? Is it possible that this will become part of his investigation? Or is this being independently investigated at the state level in Arizona, much like Fani Willis is investigating the same in Georgia, from which we will soon know the outcome sometime between next week and early September? We don't know the answer to that. But what is abundantly clear is that this was a concerted effort. Loony Lindsey Graham seemed to have been involved in multiple places. By the way, Lindsey brutally booed at a Trump rally over the weekend. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's the latest, and it is crimes, crimes, and more crimes. If you've been getting crushed in the markets lately, like many people have, you were probably happy to hear that Treasury yields have been surging. Right now, you can get a 5% yield on Treasury bills, which is higher than most high-yield savings accounts I've seen. And unlike a high-yield savings account, Treasury bills are a fixed rate asset. So you know what you're getting at the time of purchase, but Buying U.S. Treasuries can be very complicated, or at least it was, because our sponsor, public.com, lets you buy Treasury bills in seconds right from your phone and put your cash to work. Keep in mind that Treasury bills are government-backed securities considered one of the safest investments around. When you buy them on Public, they are securely stored at the Bank of New York Mellon, the world's largest custodian bank and security services company. Plus, there are no minimum hold periods or settlement delays. You can access funds anytime. If you keep it invested, Public will automatically roll over your investments at maturity, so you have one thing you don't have to think about. Go to public.com/Pacman to start getting that 5% yield on your cash. The link is down below.